Hello, and welcome to another Bristlecone broadcast. I'm Michael Lean, and today I have with me Tom Moore, founder and CEO of Provision AI. He graduated from the University of Canterbury with a degree in operations and has over 4 decades of logistics experience, both as a practitioner and as a business owner. He's run truck fleets, warehouses, he's overseen planning. As he describes it, he's done all the scary stuff. He is joining us from his office in Franklin, Tennessee, and one of his company's products is called Level Load, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Level Load has harnessed the incredible power of AI to bring in a new era of stability to any logistics operation. So Tom, I'll turn it over to you. Hello. Well, thank you for joining me.
Well, thank you, Michael. Always good to be with Bristlecone. Got some great things to talk about today for your customers, and we'll certainly be pleased to share some of the savings and opportunities around.
Beautiful. So we're going to talk about the top 5 reasons why someone should take a close look at Level Load. So let's start with the first one. Why should somebody take a look at this technology?
Volatility, which somebody like Kimberly-Clark calls bunching, which is really when we're deploying product from our plants to our customer-facing DCs, that volatility is very hurtful of both the transportation groups and the warehousing folks. So one day you're shipping 5 loads, the next day you're shipping 30, and the day after that you're shipping 2. I don't know how you run a business like that. And we're going to show you a graphic that is quite typical of a lane that is being run in the United States by one of our clients. It's really horrific when you consider the volatility associated with it.
So I imagine the volatility has real cost implications. Just by kind of smoothing this volatility out, I mean, what are the results?
Certainly one of the first areas of savings, and probably the biggest area of savings, is transportation.
Okay.
When you see the big variations, it's very difficult to find a carrier who can take 2 trucks one day and 30 the next. And so you're ending up using a lot of different carriers, some of whom you may not really want to use from either a cost perspective or a service perspective. So what we've focused on really is taking that cost out by smoothing those out over the next 30 plus days. If we can smooth out and of course make sure we don't impact service, that's the very key thing. We have to make sure that we maintain a high degree of customer service, which means a high degree of in stock. So number 1, transportation. Number 2, warehouse savings. Again, the shipping point, they have to ship a lot of things in one day and then ship nothing the next, really difficult. But at the other end, the person who's receiving it has to now receive 30 loads. Now you've got a challenge. You may not be manned for that. Customer loads are going to take precedence. Therefore, what's going to happen is trailers are going to sit out in the yard. Now that has some impacts on service as well, because when trailers are out in the yard, they may have product on them that is needed for a customer shipment. Unfortunately, it's going to miss that customer shipment. And we all know in full on time, particularly in the consumer products business, is a very important metric. So less volatility means less labor cost, less transportation cost.
You started to mention number 3 was the customer satisfaction. So can you talk a little bit more about that? Maybe talk a little bit about how Kimberly-Clark has experienced that improvement?
Well, they went on record saying our customer service actually improved because our order fill went up, i.e. using Level Load, we were able to plan more effectively than they could just with their standard state-of-the-art planning solution.
Perfect. So that was 3 reasons. What's the 4th?
Well, the 4th one's kind of an interesting one. Trucks going down the highway today aren't always full. And everyone says, okay, how do we fill them up? Well, it requires a little bit of science to do that. And the science is, how do you make the choice of all the things that need to be filled, put on trucks, and what's the best grouping to put them on? So matching heavy and light products is a good example. But we've developed technology that enables the planning system to output requirements. Those output of requirements then get turned into optimized truckloads, which are both effective in terms of they use all the payload capacity of the trailer, as well as using a very good understanding of how they can be loaded so the axles are legal and the product's going to arrive damage-free. What's that worth? That in itself is worth up to 8% of transportation costs. So i.e. being able to be more prescriptive and more accurate in what you prescribe and what goes on each truck has distinct value.
I mean, that's significant. And you're seeing that across the board with all your customers?
Yeah, various customers have various savings. You clearly, one of the more difficult things is when you're getting a product that's got very little difference in weight. So just think about Pepsi or Coke, who have Pepsi and Diet Pepsi. Those subtle differences in the weight of the cans of diet products enable you to actually get significant improvements. And we've shown not across the board, but certainly 3 to 5% in those really small variations in product weight.
And 3 to 5% with such a major sort of cost center has got to be a lot of money.
It's huge. And, even the most difficult folks of paper, if you're shipping paper on the floor as opposed to in pallets, we're seeing even significant savings there. We can get 16, sometimes even 17 rows of stacks of paper into a 53-foot trailer. Huge value, amazing savings.
I mean, it sounds incredible. So what is the fifth and final reason why somebody should take a look at Level Up?
Well, the people. Planning itself is a very difficult thing to do. And as much as you can do planning in an automated way, you gain a lot of value. And we can do pre-tendering. And pre-tendering enables you to say, I want 5 trucks on Friday, and not determine actually what goes on those trucks until, say, Thursday. That gives distinct advantage in that you get always the carrier you want because you're at the head of the queue, right? You've asked for the capacity earlier. It's not just good for the company in terms of getting the carrier they want. It's also good for the carrier because they have more notice and they can be more flexible in terms of how they meet the needs. It's been a huge win. One of Kimberly-Clark's carriers came back and said, by doing the smoothing as well as the pre-tendering, we have been able to service a lot more of the volume. And more importantly, they've been able to eliminate a lot of deadhead miles. So it's not just good for the carrier, it's not just good for Kimberly-Clark, but it's also good for the environment.
I mean, this sounds incredible. What is the sort of upfront effort to implement something like this? Is it a pretty heavy lift?
We normally start off with doing load optimization as a first step. Why? Because it generates good savings and it uses the data, part of the data that you need. And that way we can build on top of that. So we do first step, load optimization, second step, leveling, third step is early tendering. There's a couple reasons for that, not just that it's incremental and the savings, but secondly, it helps you develop an understanding inside the company and you get company acceptance and people acceptance, right? So they see work going down, they see benefits in terms of dollars. It builds momentum inside the company.
Tom, thank you for walking me through those 5 reasons, plus a little bit about the implementation. If you have any questions for Tom or any of us here at Bristlecone, you can get in touch with myself, Michael Lean, or our info@bristlecone.com. But thank you again for tuning in to another Bristlecone broadcast. See you next time.